Welcome to the Loaded Box Podcast.
Where we never finish first because we finish last. A little squeak in my voice there.
Yeah, and I almost hit the wrong button on the recording. I almost paused us. Man, that was a train wreck.
You forgot to talk there for a second?
Yes, we did. Well, I'm all thrown off because we're doing this in the light of day. It's still light out.
Oh, shit happens.
Nice. Well, once again, this is the Loaded Box Podcast. I am Ben Morgan. That's DJ Primo. We have a special guest today. We're going to break down the top questions heading into the NFL draft with our intern. Yes, you heard me right. The Loaded Box Podcast currently has an intern. He is our resident ginger, and he goes by Logan Beatty. Logan, right? No, he's Beatty to me.
Okay.
He'll always be that to me. So, Logan, what's shaking today?
Not a whole lot. Thanks for having me on, guys. Any ladies listening? So, it's a big time opportunity to intern. In my opinion, it's a step down, but that's all right. I'm really excited to talk about football because this will be the first time I think in this calendar year I'm going to do so. So, pretty excited.
You know, this is garbage because he was talking about I was going to rag on him before, and now he just says we're a step down. So,
right.
He's just ragging on us.
I'm a big fan of Logan's intro there because he hit the blog that we posted for him, and now his debut on the podcast with the tagline of "Any ladies listening or reading, what's up?" I mean, that's a baller move.
Shoot your shot.
Shoot or shoot, right? Hey, did you say his Twitter name for all the ladies out there too?
No, I didn't. Why don't you supply the ladies with that Twitter handle?
You can find him at LogeyJ, LOGEYJ, on Twitter, ladies.
And Logan, I want to ask you, you're a big Milwaukee Bucks fan, so you're looking forward to Game 2. I think that's tomorrow. I want to get your thoughts on Giannis, and I want to hear you say his last name.
Antetokounmpo. So my Twitter right now is probably just full of Buck stuff.
Butt stuff?
Bucks stuff.
Oh,
I feel
okay.
like that's the thing you probably have to say really slow, otherwise you can't get into some trouble.
I would have checked you out if you had more butt stuff on there.
Yeah, maybe. It'd be a little more interesting. Probably have more followers, too. But, no, super excited. Bucks play tomorrow. I'm going to the game Saturday. Honestly, my opinion's on Giannis. He's probably the best player I've seen in a Bucks uniform. He's 22, but I feel really confident I can say that. I was old enough to cognitively understand how good they were in 01 with Cassell, with Ray, and with Big Dog. But honestly, he's 22, and he's already a top 12 player in the league.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty easy to say that he's probably the best player I've seen in the Bucks uniform.
Yeah, I think Yabba the Doom Dong is definitely top 12. I don't top 10 maybe, but yeah, like you said, the potential is there. And he's got that younger brother too, so there's another Yabba the Ding Dong coming through the pipeline as well.
And there's another one who's at Dominican, I think, right now. So there's a lot of them.
Yeah, it's gonna be Yabba the Ding Dongs and LeVar Ball's kids just running the NBA in a matter of years.
Before you know it.
Nice.
Glad that's out of the way now.
I like our NBA talk. We break it down pretty well usually.
I'm pretty silent usually.
Yeah. Well, as DJ said, we're going to move forward to the football here. We're going to cover some of the questions leading up to the draft here, but stay tuned to our website as moving forward here. Once Logan has it completed, we're going to be posting a blog that will contain a full breakdown with some additional questions included. So we're going to do that today. It's probably one of our last episodes, if not the last episode before we do our mock draft episodes. We're going to do those with Mitchell Renz of Gridiron Experts, so make sure that you stay tuned for that. And then as we had talked about last week as well, we're going to be doing our NFL draft first round mock draft contest, and it's a $10 entry fee, 100% payback. So email us, hit us up on Twitter or Facebook, and we can provide you the information for that as well. So with all that being said, with all of our Giannis talk out of the way, let's move into the NFL draft. And Logan, let's hear your first question.
So to just kind of set this up with the whole blog I plan on writing, I always tend to get more excited about the lead up to the draft than the actual draft because I feel like it's the same thing with everybody. Everyone gets super pumped. And the NFL did this to us, right? They split it up into, 3 separate days, 4 separate days now? I can't even keep straight. They moved it back. And now, so, like, you get super pumped up and everyone's super excited. And then by, like, midway through Friday, you can't stand looking at the screen anymore. And everyone just turns the TV off and actually goes back to the real life and just keeps up on their phone. So, anyways, to lead up to this article, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm in that kind of, like, super excited phase where I want to, kind of explore some stuff about the draft. So I had a couple of questions going into the draft that I thought would be pretty interesting. So the first one that I kind of want to talk about is the trades in the first round of NFL drafts. Earlier I did a blog post on the effectiveness of trading into the first round and what's the value of teams trading up and, whether it's more efficient for you to trade up, whether it's more efficient for you to get the picks. And I thought it was interesting because last year there were 8 trades in the first round alone. And I felt like that was a lot. So I thought it'd be interesting, looking at this year again, I feel like there's, a lot of teams that have the potential that they want to move up. I feel like there's some teams that are picking pretty high. It may behoove them, behoove them to move back a little bit. So I thought it'd be interesting. Are we going to see more than 8 trades in this year's first round? Because I felt like last year was a lot, but I was just really curious, with Chicago at 3, with Jacksonville at 4. I'm curious to see what the Panthers are going to do, them being so high, them kind of having a weird year last year. Dallas always seems to make a move up. Denver always seems – I feel like every year Denver has made a trade in the first round, I swear. So I just thought it was really interesting. Like, how many trades do you think we're going to see in this first round?
Yeah, DJ, I'm going to let you tackle that one first.
Yeah, so this is kind of interesting because as I was doing my mock.
All right. Thank God for technology and the pause button. We broke apart earlier there. So, DJ, why don't you bring us back here?
So as I was saying, as I was doing my mock draft yesterday, it would pop in my mind like, God, I could see this team dropping back for somebody later, trying to get more picks. And a few of those teams I was kind of looking at, I know there's rumors that Cleveland could potentially want to trade back. You still don't know what they're going to do with Osweiler. Maybe they'll not do anything. Chicago, as Logan had mentioned, was a team that I thought was interesting. Tennessee's got 2 picks, so they're definitely a candidate to make a trade. What?
Cleveland too. I mean,
Cleveland also has 2 picks. Yeah, again, and they're not. And then Carolina was one I talked about 2, 3, 4 weeks back. I could see Carolina. They still seem like a team that could be like a player away or just had a fluke season. So they could be someone who's trying to gather more picks that they don't need to pick that high. It's just kind of weird that they're at the 8th. It's weird to see them there. New Orleans, I believe they have 2 picks in the first round as well because they traded with the Patriots. So that's what did I rattle off there? 5 or 6,
right?
And then Arizona, I think, is a definite candidate because I can see them trading back so they could just grab a quarterback later in the first round.
Yeah, I like that.
For some reason, I'm dead set on Arizona drafting Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think I'm going to get off that. And I think they can move back and get him and let somebody else move up to try to get maybe like a Corey Davis or Delvin Cook or somebody else they like ahead of somebody else. So that I think that's an opportunity. So I could see somewhere around 6. I wouldn't be surprised if, but I don't know if we can reach 8.
Yeah, I think trades are like super hard to predict, obviously. Whenever I do my mock drafts, I always I'll do a mock draft where I try to predict trades as well, and I don't think that I've ever gotten one right because there's always so many rumors. You never know what's true. You never know which team is blowing smoke. So I think this year when I do my mock, I'm literally just going to do my mock draft and keep it as is and just go with that because it's so hard to predict the trades. But with that being said, it's inevitable that there are going to be first-round trades and maybe a handful, maybe even a few more. And I agree with the same teams that you guys were saying, along with the fact that what was I going to say? The one I really like is the Jacksonville Jaguars at 4. There's a big rumor right now that they're really high on and they're tied to Leonard Fournette, and I don't think that they're running back away right now. I think they're fine with what they have, and I don't think he's going to be that one that takes them over the top. in a perfect world, I think the Jaguars could trade number 4 to one of those teams in that 15 to 20 range and get a lineman. News came out today that Brandon Albert, who was traded to the Jaguars during the free agency time period there, he's already holding out. So, I mean, I'm sure they'll get him all locked up and everything. What's that?
It's a bitch move.
Yeah, really weird. I was really shocked by that. I know a lot of people on Twitter were pretty shocked by that, but I really like them to trade back, get a couple additional picks because I think they're farther away. If they can get a lineman in that first round and then address other needs and get a running back later, I think that would be the safe route to go. Like I said, I don't know that I can predict exactly what trades, but if we're looking at 8, I think, gun to my head, I'm saying under, but I think it's a realistic number. Maybe a little bit lower. I guess I would go with 5 to 6.
Yeah. I'm going to just chime in real quick, but I think that's interesting because you talked about Jacksonville. I am dead set on them as well, taking Fournette, and I think that Bortles is better than what he should last year. So I still think he's going to be a good quarterback, and I think they need Fournette to take pressure off of him. So I think they'll sit at 4. I don't see them trading back personally at all. I see them at Fournette. They did so much work on their defense. They need a really good running back to take a little bit of pressure off of Blake Bortles to me. So I don't see them trading back in my opinion. But
how about this? What if they traded out of number 4 and then they took a guy like Deshaun Watson or Pat Mahomes with that first round pick that they acquire and make Blake Bortles available for trade or make him compete?
I think that would be the biggest mistake you could make.
See, I disagree. I think the biggest mistake they can make is putting their franchise farther back by holding on to Bortles and just sitting with him. I don't think he's your guy. I think they need to pull a Texans here and try to cut ties like what Houston did with Osweiler.
So after 1 year, you thought he was their guy, and then one bad year, he's not.
Well, I think a lot of that's coming from like the fantasy perspective of he was putting up these gaudy fantasy football numbers, but they were all in garbage time. It was all late stuff. Like that was happening not only last year but the year before as well.
I feel like them going running back at 4, and then I know that NFL contracts aren't, you can get out of them fairly easy, but didn't they just pay Chris Ivory last free agent session?
Yeah.
And now they're gonna take a running back at 4. I think that just kind of shows you the issues at the top that Jacksonville has, because there never seems to be a plan. Everything is erased after 2 years. And
right.
God, there was a stretch where they drafted defensive line, it felt like, for 4 fucking years. Like, Jesus Christ, figure it out. It's not working.
Yeah. No, exactly. And then the thing is, like, what are you going to do with TJ Yeldon? I know he's probably not your everyday guy, but I still really like his potential, though, the way the NFL's moving.
Where are they going?
To
London?
To running backs that are kind of like third down backs that can catch out of the backfield and make plays in space.
I mean, lots of those guys are third down. I mean, Le'Veon Bell is a first, second, and third down guy who can play all 3 downs.
Is Fournette though?
Maybe not necessarily.
Well,
no.
I don't like Fournette at 4. I cannot be sold on it.
But they're not necessarily moving. The NFL's not necessarily moving in that direction.
I think.
And honestly, I don't think what gets talked about a lot is, and I'm a weird person who likes money and sports and stuff like that. Fournette at 4, you have to pay him what it's slotted for. At 4, you're going to pay running back a lot of money, and if he's not on the field all the time, what the hell's the point? Like, you should always optimize what you're going to pick at, and when you're picking high, you should always take a guy who's going to be on the field all the time with the position he played.
Right.
Okay, but I compare him to Adrian Peterson, and Adrian Peterson's not a 3-down running back. And to me, Leonard Fournette is the Adrian Peterson type of running back. So I'm willing to take the risk because I have a better view on him or higher stake in him than you guys do.
Well, when you say Adrian Peterson type running back, do you mean Adrian Peterson type running back 2,000 yards, or Adrian Peterson type running back beat the shit out of his kids? You have to specify. You can't just say one.
He could be both potentially.
People will get confused. So you have to make that delineation.
Well, either way, I'll take him.
I'm speechless. Let's go on.
Okay, so another one of the questions I had. Every single mock I've looked at is full of guys in the secondary or pass rushers. So I kind of set myself another little over-under where, like, are we going to see more then 13 and a half defensive ends, pass rushers, and secondary players combined in this first round. Because you look at any mock, and it's pretty chock full of DNs, pass rushing linebackers, and safeties and corners.
Definitely, and I'll address this one first because DJ and I were doing mock drafts yesterday, first rounds anyways, and I know DJ's not quite done with his yet, but he's got a pretty good handle on it. And you had the over-under at 13.5, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the first round mock that I did yesterday, and I had 15. It's not my final mock, but I'm very confident that if I take someone out, it's not going to be one of those positions. I think that, and DJ's going to talk about this, so I don't want to steal this topic, but I think it is a deep class where you've got some studs, but then after that you have a lot of guys that could really turn the corner and be impactful at cornerback and defensive end. And what we're seeing right now is, too, we always talk about the quarterbacks and how much they mean. Well, on the opposite side of the ball, it's those two positions. It's your cornerbacks, those secondary guys that can shut half the field down, and then it's defensive ends and edge rushers that can apply pressure to those quarterbacks because the league is becoming more pass-friendly. There's more penalties called in the secondary. You have more attempts, so there's more yards, there's more points being scored. So you need these cornerbacks to take away half the field, and you need these edge rushers to get to the quarterback since the secondary is a little bit harder to play now. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm all in. If I had like a Vegas line and it was 13.5, I would jump on the over of that.
Yeah, I tend to agree. When I was counting, I got through, what do we got? 20. I got through 27 teams just quick, and I missed two. I've got 14 D-backs, 14 people in this arena that you just, this outside linebacker, pass rushers, and D-backs. And I have two more yet that I completely forgot about that I want to add on here. That would just put 16 with 5 teams left yet for me to make picks. So I'd be in on the over on this as well. And building off that and what you said I was going to mention, and kind of the question I wanted to ask towards the end, but this is a perfect time to bring this up, is I'm wondering if this is something that, and I like Logan's opinion on this as well, is this like the quarterback thing where it seems almost like we're valuing quarterbacks less this year and starting to value D-backs and pass rushers way more to the point where maybe we're overvaluing some guys because of how important they're becoming in the NFL. So maybe 13 of these guys end up not being near as good as what we think they are. Like Maurice Claiborne's, honestly, in my head. I can just think of a bunch of Maurice Claiborne's at this position. Are teams overvaluing and vaulting guys that much higher because of how important that position seems to be becoming to stop the great quarterbacks in the NFL?
Yeah, I'll let Beatty hit that one.
I look at it kind of like a pendulum that swings back and forth. It's funny. I was at my mom's house and I have just a ton of old Sports Illustrated, right? And there was one that was like a mock, like it was Sports Illustrated mock draft of like 2005, right? And the whole front page or whatever just had all of the players selected, right? Yeah. There were 5 running backs. There were 4 quarterbacks. There was a couple of DNs and stuff like that. And then there's like 2 safeties, a corner, and then the rest are wide receivers. Wow. And maybe it's just this draft. Maybe it was just last year's draft too, because I felt like it was way big-time defense too. But I feel like it's just a pendulum swing. Running backs aren't valued right now. That's swinging back this way. Safeties, cornerbacks, and pass rushers are getting big-time money now, so that pendulum is swinging back this way. So, I mean, the league kind of evolves in this way every so many years, and I think it's just the pendulum kind of swinging back the other way.
Yeah, I'm with that, and then I'll also add, I think it's kind of a hybrid of both. It's the fact that, yeah, there is a need, like what DJ was saying, we are pumping these people up a little bit just because that's the hot position. Those are the positions that we're starting to value more, so their stock goes up a little bit compared to that running back who a few years ago might have been a first-round prospect, but now we're pushing him to the 3rd, 4th round just because we don't value the position. But with that being said, I do think that there is some logic in the theory that this is a pretty good class for cornerbacks and edge rushers. I think, even if you would have been able to add Sidney Jones from Washington, there's another surefire first rounder. So I don't know. I really like your point, DJ, but I can't like I said, I'm about 50-50 on it because I can't buy in 100% to that claim just because I do think there are a lot of guys here, no matter what the year would have been, are first round guys or potentially like top half of the second round. So I love the question. I wish I had a better answer, but I'm kind of stuck.
Yeah, and just really quick, I think maybe as offenses in college change, it maybe gets harder for people to grade out like, okay, well, how good is Corey Davis? You know, because he's playing in a wide open offense, he's playing in a small conference. How good is Corey Davis? How good are some of these running backs that, you know, get to play in a spread style that, I mean, they get 6 or 7 yards before they're even touched or even looked at.
Yeah.
How good are these quarterbacks that play in a spread style? I think maybe it's tougher, whereas on defense, you know, the really good defenses that you see in college are pretty standard and comparable to the NFL. So maybe it's just easier for them to grade out and scout.
Right. And I'm just taking a quick peek at the first round mock that I did, and I'm just trying to think of some cornerbacks and some edge rushers that maybe if the position wasn't as valued, who I'd knock out. And right now I have Kevin King slated to go 26 to Seattle. So I think maybe he could be a day 2 kind of guy. And then I've got Charles Harris slated to go 31 to Atlanta. And I like both these players, but I think maybe those are kind of your guys that maybe they are getting bumped up a little bit. I'm sort of swinging more towards what you're saying here, DJ. But then at the end of the day, if I take out Kevin King and if I take out Charles Harris, which guys am I going to put in? Like who are these other guys that I'm going to value over those guys to justify making a first round selection of someone other than them? That's where I'm struggling.
And sometimes I even think that maybe the mock drafters like us and all the actual experts are overvaluing it, and the guys.
Wait, we're not actual experts?
Yeah, no. So what do we get? 16 teams that make the playoffs? No, not that many. We've got. I'm just blanking right now. 12 teams that make the playoffs, correct?
Yep.
So let's say those last 12 teams. Usually those teams make more luxury picks, and maybe we're overvaluing how many actually cornerbacks and we could see a lot more offensive weapons actually go in those last 12 picks, teams that are playoff Super Bowl ready at this time, and you could see actually a lot more offensive guys instead of these defensive guys that we're predicting to go in the last 12 picks.
Right.
And then you get the teams that get totally smitten with hybrid guys, like the Packers last couple of years with the defensive end they've drafted. Or you're a Dolphin fan, you understand how that gets with weird hybrid pass rushers. Didn't they just get rid of Deion?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, people get smitten with, you know, these smallish, super athletic outside linebackers that think are going to be awesome pass rushers, and they just can't play.
Right. No, I absolutely get that. And that whole draft was kind of full of busts, but just from like the Dolphins' perspective there, that was just total mismanagement because the Dolphins were a base 4-3 team, and they took Deion Jordan, who was clearly a 3-4 outside linebacker and didn't have the frame to play the edge, couldn't really set an edge, struggled with his pass moves when he was down in a stance. So just like you said, you're getting these crazy-ass athletes that everyone covets, but then you don't know how to use them. It's kind of like those gadget players that we talk about too. Who knows? Maybe Tyreek Hill and Taylor Gabriel and the Percy Harvins of the past, if they're on the wrong team, and you don't know how to get them the ball, that's an issue. You're drafting these guys because there's so much hype around them and all the possibilities, but then it comes to game day and you don't know what to do with them.
Well, a bust. People always like to blame the player, but it's just as much fit in the team as it is the guy. So
yeah,
that's all about that.
Definitely.
Next.
All right. So, okay. All right. Now, hear me out. You guys are probably just going to rip on me and laugh at me, but so based on what I'm hearing, and all I'm hearing are from my friends that are Bears fans and my family members that all live in like the suburbs of Chicago, I think the Bears are taking quarterback at 3. And I think it's probably going to be Deshaun Watson, and I think he's going to be really good. I don't have any basis for that other than it's my family that lives around Chicago, and I kind of feel like I have an in. I mean, basically anyone who lives in Chicago, I just automatically assume is tied to the mob. So I kind of feel like there's some truth to that. So I don't know. I really think that they'll take him, and I think a case could be made. I mean, I know they signed that dinosaur neck dude.
It's a giraffe neck, man. Get it right.
But I don't know. I think there's really not much commitment there in terms of guaranteed money. So I really think that could be a move that they go ahead and do. And honestly, that front office needs to please some fans right now. If they go out and they take, I don't know, if they take another wide receiver and he doesn't pan out, or if they take, another guy on defense and it doesn't pan out, they're going to get pissed. That's all they do.
Right.
Who do you want to tackle this first?
You want to?
I will.
Go ahead.
So, I don't think there's any chance in hell that the Bears take a quarterback, at all. Zero. I think there's zero chance. Number one, Deshaun Watson, I don't think is going to be a good NFL quarterback.
My Uncle Tony wears shades and smokes cigarettes, and he looks like he's got it in. So I really feel like it could happen.
So I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be a good quarterback. I know that lots of GMs are grading him second, third round in this NFL, or at least that's the rumors. I think guys are smitten with the fact that he played well in a couple of national championship games, and he did play good in a couple of big games, but I just don't think that tells the whole story of him. And I know I was huge. I was just a week ago. I said I'm convinced they're going to take Jonathan Allen, and a week later I've changed my mind, and I've done more thinking, and I've thought about this more, and they have to like Mike Glennon, okay? They have to think that he has something. I don't know why. I don't know what. But they must like something about him that I don't know.
Why didn't they make commitment past this year? I don't think there's any guaranteed money after this year.
You just bring in two quarterbacks, a starter and a backup, and I guess it's just 1 year, but it's a lot of goddamn money for a backup. For me, which is potentially a backup quarterback, and they must have told him something he'd like to hear in order to leave $14 million in backup money. But I think they want to build around him. They lost Alshon Jeffrey. Give him all the weapons they can, since they might only have him for 1 year. So might as well give him the weapons that they can. And I really see them taking Mike Williams out of the wide receiver out of Clemson.
So they're going to take the wide receiver from Clemson, but they're not going to take the guy who made Mike look good?
I think he made Watson look good. He goes up and he makes plays. He's a number one wide receiver in the NFL. Yeah. So I think if you're going to give a guy a 1 year contract, you've got to give him weapons, not just have him playing with who are their wide receivers even. I can't even think of them off the top of my head.
Kevin White has one leg.
Yeah, he can't play.
Do they still have that Knox guy, or was that just 6 years ago?
They signed a whole bunch of they signed up a whole bunch of number 2 wide receivers, right? They got the guy from Tennessee.
Yeah, they got Kendall Wright. They got Cameron Meredith. They've got Marcus Wheaton.
Yeah, so a whole bunch of fill-in wide receivers when they need a number 1 yet.
I can't argue the fact that they need that receiver. And to go off of Logan's point, I do think Deshaun Watson would be a good pick for the Bears, but I think that would be a good pick in the second round. I don't think that they can afford to take him at number 3. At the end of the day, if that's your guy, if that's who you want, shit, you have to. You got to take him at 3. But I don't think they should do that. If that's their goal, at least trade back into the first round, later into the first round, and try to get him there. So at 3, do the Bears take a quarterback? I give it about a 10% chance, maybe even less than that. I don't see him taking a quarterback. One, just because the fact that they did sign a couple of guys. They got, like you said, they got Glennon. They got Sanchez, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're putting a lot of your offseason into one position, and it's a position where you only play one each week if everything goes well. So you're putting a lot into one position. So I don't like the fact that they're doing that. But I'm going to disagree with DJ that Glennon can't be their long-term solution. And maybe it's a 1 year trial period and see how it goes. But I still think even if the Bears were to go 8-8 and he showed maybe a little bit of promise, if he threw 23 touchdowns and only 15 interceptions, maybe you have a debate on your hand. But I don't think he's a sustainable NFL starting quarterback. So I think that you need to address quarterback at some point. What sucks for the Bears is it's a crappy quarterback draft. So maybe Watson in the second. Maybe you play it out this year with Sanchez and Glennon and see what you can do next year in a quarterback class that's supposed to be pretty solid.
I just don't know why we're talking about the Bears like they haven't any sort of understanding of what the hell they're doing the last couple of years. So all of a sudden they're not going to go quarterback at 3, but them going Glennon was an awesome move. Them signing shitty wide receivers are a good move. They're dumb. They do dumb shit. I totally understand why they would go quarterback at 3. They're going to try to do something weird and big because their fans are pissed. And I really feel, I'm not saying it's more than 25% chance, but I think it could happen.
Okay, but I mean, I don't like Glennon. I don't think that's a great pick. But then why wouldn't you just go Sanchez and then bring in a rookie quarterback? Like, I don't understand why. Why would you get both of these guys? You could literally just get Sanchez, let him suck it up for a year or whatever, and let the other guy play behind him.
You want to know why they got Sanchez and they're going to draft a quarterback? Because Dallas did the same fucking thing. All right? Except for, okay, I get what's his face was drafted in the third round.
Yeah, and Tony Romo was expected to be the starting quarterback.
Everyone knew Romo was going to get hurt.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. But my other theory on them taking Mike Williams, and I thought about this last night, and I'm glad I thought about it now, is that NFC North, in my opinion, in order to keep up, you have to have offense. And I think they need a wide receiver that can go out there and make plays against the crappy D-backs that the Lions and the Packers have. And I think Mike Williams is a guy that's going to help bring more offense to that shitty offense. And Jordan Howard, they're going to have a lot of weapons there.
Hey, DJ.
What?
Mike Williams, huh?
Yeah.
Not a very good track record, maybe the last decade or so, of guys named Mike Williams or wide receivers going really high in the first round. So maybe you'd want to rethink that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, pump the brakes a little bit. I don't doubt that Mike Williams is a first-round receiver, but I also think he might be getting pumped up a little bit, too, because of this particular receiver class. I'm to the point where I like Corey Davis more than Mike Williams now. I think Mike Williams is going to struggle to get separation. What he does have is that Calvin Johnson ability to just leap over people.
Big bodies, baby.
I get that, but you still need to be in a certain system that utilizes that as a strategy. So I don't know. I'm gonna say it again, DJ, just to spite you. As a Dolphins fan, I seen they picked Devontae Parker, and that was kind of the same thing. Well, you can just throw it up to him. Well, the knock on
working out all right. It's a little healthier and longer he stays in the league.
Yeah, well, the knock on Parker so far is his route running and his ability to get separation, and the fact that the Dolphins don't even really give him a lot of jump ball opportunities. Like I said, it's got to be a right scheme fit as well.
I don't understand why you would admit so many times over and over that you're a Dolphins fan. I was talking about on Twitter how I told you to stop talking about the Dolphins. What I wanted to add is I can't wait for the regular season to come, because then you'll be quiet again. Because then all this off-season hype you have that you get so excited about will turn into I don't even know the word I want to give you for this one. Just into depression or
right. Severe disappointment, anyways.
Yeah, disappointment.
But I've told you that, right now, free agency and the draft, dude. This is my January. This is my February. These are my playoffs and my Super Bowl. You can't take this from me.
Yeah, well, that sucks for you.
I always have to kind of curb myself and just understand how lucky I am to bitch about a team that wins 11 games every year. Yeah. It's kind of a nice thing to bitch about.
I can't wait until Rodgers retires or whatever ends up happening. Maybe he gets a new girlfriend that.
And then we draft another quarterback that'll be our quarterback.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. That's the cliche answer, you ass. Sooner or later, you're not going to be able to swing for a home run every time. You're going to swing and miss, and you're going to have a decade long of 4 wins, 5 wins, 9 wins. You'll think you're onto something. Then you'll bounce back down to 6, and you'll ride that roller coaster.
Well,
give it time.
Let me tell you something that's been actually true my whole lifetime. Not in my lifetime.
Not in my lifetime.
I have no argument for that. All right, next.
Last one?
Last one.
Did you have one more?
Yeah, what the hell are the Packers going to do? I have no clue. I know it's not that strong of a question, but as a Packer fan, I kind of had to have one in there. As a Packer fan, I feel like I should do air quotes or something. I really don't know what they're going to do. Generally, you have an idea of okay, yeah, maybe they'll look at this position, but there are 4 or 5 things I could rationally see them go ahead and try to do in the first round. And I could also see them trade out of the first round because teams really like that fifth-year option in the first round that they get on players. Maybe the Browns are hey, yeah, we really maybe they want to trade up and say a quarterback in the late end of the first round to get that 5th-year option. That'd be probably a prime position for them to trade back. So there's a lot that I could see them do, but I just feel like I have no clue. Generally, I have an idea, and this year I have no idea.
Yeah. That's a great question. I don't know either. I want them to take a cornerback if that position. I want them to take a best of these, either outside linebacker or cornerback position, whichever is the best available at one of those two. And I wouldn't be angry about a defensive tackle either because of how I'm already up to 3 positions right there. I'm at 3 positions I've already talked about, but I wouldn't be upset about a defensive tackle either, as long as it's not somebody who was once injured or anything like that, because they're famous for that and failing at that. But if they're going to trade, which they definitely could, they wouldn't trade out. They're the Green Bay Packers. They would trade out of the round, but then they could go. I think every Packer fan agrees that we want somebody on defense that can stop the pass. So whether a cornerback or a pass rusher, which makes me think that they're going to go offensive guard or running back.
Well, they won't take a guard because they always
fill in and move guys.
Right. But I mean, when
they won't take a guard. You're right.
But any place defensively, like I know there aren't many good middle linebacker prospects in the first round, and they don't. I feel like I'm doing fucking air quotes this whole time. They don't value middle linebackers the way everyone else does, but you could name a position on defense, and I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and they're nobody can see you, so air quotes are just for being done.
Well, it's important that you know.
Okay.
Right.
What do you think, Ben? Outside perspective.
Yeah, so I guess I'm glad that we did this mock draft yesterday as well, just because it gave me a better idea of who's going to be around in that area. So I agree with your positions. I think cornerback and, like you said, someone that can eventually take over for Clay Matthews on the outside as a rusher is going to be clutch. I kind of like that defensive tackle idea, but after going D-tackle in the first round last year, I find it hard to believe that they would do it 2 years in a row. So I'm just looking at my mock draft right now, and the guys that the cornerbacks, anyways, that I think that they could be looking at would be Kevin King, Adoree Jackson, or Quincy Wilson. And I right now have them going Quincy Wilson, just because he was the one that was available at that point. But I could see them. I think that would be their first choice. I think cornerback is top priority, and then I think Wilson would be it.
You're a Gator fan. How big is Quincy Wilson?
Is he small?
No.
Really?
No.
He's not like 5'7"?
No, he's not like he's taller than Tabor. He's taller than Vernon Hargraves.
They're not drafting him then.
What? You're what?
He's over 6 foot. They're not drafting.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I got you're saying there. Well, I honestly think Wilson would be
in college,
right.
or basketball.
Or basketball.
Did he not play football? I guess is what I'm trying to.
I think he might have wrestled at one point.
Okay. Oh, shit.
I think Wilson would be a prime guy there. I think that'd be my number 1 target. And then second, if they were able to get a guy like Charles Harris out of Missouri, a lot of people think he could play defensive end. I think he might be more of a 3-4 outside linebacker. And I think being able to let him replace Peppers or eventually replace Matthews, one of those 2 guys are, if I was a Packers fan, that'd be kind of where I'd have my eye right now.
I just get really nervous about, is he this or is he that?
Yeah.
Like, give me a goddamn guy who is what he is, and that's the position he's played his entire freaking life, and he's going to know what he's doing when plugged in, because the whole hybrid stuff, I'm over it.
I don't want another Nick. Like, I love Nick Perry. He's a bull rusher at this point, but I don't want another Nick Perry. I want a faster guy on the opposite side now. Like, I want 2 different outside linebackers if they go outside linebacker. So like Hassan Reddick or I can't remember, the guy out of Vanderbilt, like smaller built, quick, faster guys. But I also, and we talked about this last week with Jonathan Valencia, Malik McDowell would be an interesting there. As I said last week on the podcast, Malik McDowell, he said he's a wrestler, Jonathan did. And the Packers have taken wrestlers at defensive tackle in Mike Daniels and Kenny Clark last year. So they really like the wrestlers, and who knows how good Kenny Clark's going to be, but they're shallow at position, and who knows. So I'm going off of just the smallest little aspects of people, but I'm going to keep building off of that.
But the glaring need. You watch that game against the Falcons. I mean, it's secondary. There was literally no one on the screen sometimes when they were throwing the ball to Julio and all these other receivers. Like, you have to go cornerback, I think.
Well, they'll address corner with undrafted free agents. We all know that as well. For sure. So.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Disgruntled Packers fans. You guys don't know how well you have it.
We do, but it's Wisconsin. We like to bitch. We all have good teams. We like to bitch.
It's frustrating when your team's getting picked apart in the big playoff game and can't stop a goddamn pass to save their lives.
The thing is about last year, and I don't want to go off on too much, but we're pissed off because we're bad and we're losing a lot of games. Then you win a whole bunch of games and you're like, all right, yeah, we can totally do this. And then they just fucking tear it out of you, right out of you.
I'll let you guys know when I ever get that feeling.
It's garbage. Bunch of garbage, Ben. You don't even know.
You're right.
You don't know how good you have it.
You don't know how good you have it watching a 5-11 team every year.
Yeah, at least you know you're going to lose.
Expectations are a bitch.
You think we're going to win and then we fucking lose.
Telling you guys, to this day, I'm still undefeated in March and April, so leave it at that. Nice. Well, thanks everyone for listening again. If you haven't yet, be sure, as DJ mentioned, check out last week's episode. We broke down the NFC North and we talked about the draft's top interior defensive linemen with Breaking Football's John Valencia. As always, tweet any questions you'd like answered on the podcast on Twitter @LoadedBox. Continue to like and share the Facebook page. And as I said earlier, we're doing that mock draft contest, so make sure you let us know if you want in on that. And as always, we're available on iTunes. Make sure that you subscribe, rate, and review, and tell all your friends to listen to the best podcast. How was that quote, DJ? In between the Pacific and the Atlantic?
Yeah.
There you go. Make sure you tell your friends that.
Bye.
Be good.